Okay, let's unpack this. We were jumping into a concept from this really fascinating essay you shared. It suggests something, well, pretty unique about being human.
It does. It introduces this idea that humans might be the only species we know of that actually has a relationship with themselves.
Right. Which, honestly, on its own is pretty interesting.
Mm.
But then the essay adds another layer, something even wilder,
Yeah.
that we seem to be the only species that has these relationships with themselves, but through other people.
Exactly. And that's the core idea we really want to explore today. How deeply our ideas about what others think of us shape how we actually see ourselves. This essay argues our internal self-image is really, really tied to the stories we believe others have about us.
So it's not just me plus you in a relationship. It's more like every connection we have is in some basic way reflecting us
Yeah.
back to ourselves.
That's the proposition, yeah. And
Mm.
our mission for this deep dive is to really uh, get to grips with the specific insights here, to understand what it really means when it says every relationship points back to you.
Okay, all right. So let's start with that foundation piece. Humans have this unique internal relationship, and then this extra layer where it's mediated kind of through others. How does the essay explain why we even do that?
Well, the essay suggests that often what draws us together, in any close relationship is that feeling of familiarity, like you really get each other. But it argues it goes deeper, that we're often, maybe subconsciously, looking to see ourselves reflected in someone else. And crucially, it seems we're wired to potentially uh, change our own inner story, our self-perception, based on feeling that someone else loves us or accepts us or, approves of us.
Okay, hang on. So it's almost like we're using their perceived view of us as a kind of self-validation tool.
That's a good way to put it. Exactly. The essay even speculates this could be like a survival thing, a way to feel integrated, accepted in the group. We tend to feel most loved, most understood, the essay points out, when we think someone sees us in a way that lines up with what we need to believe about ourselves right then.
And I thought it was interesting how the essay notes it can't just be anyone giving that validation, right?
No, definitely not.
It has to be someone we've already decided is important, someone we feel connected to or see as like a counterpart, someone who feels like us or who we think understands us. There has to be that bridge of significance already there.
Yes, absolutely. Their actions, their words, they only really land, only affect our self-perception if they come from someone whose opinion we've decided matters to our sense of self.
This really reframes that common advice, love yourself first. The essay offers a really clear angle on this, doesn't it?
It really does. It clarifies that maybe loving yourself first isn't about conjuring up some, I don't know, abstract feeling of love. It's more about getting to a place where your own mindset, your self-perception is stable, stable, independent of the story you imagine someone else is telling about you.
Ah, okay. So the stability isn't rooted in their approval, but in your own internal grounding. Okay, this leads into the essay's discussion of pain, especially like heartbreak, which is incredibly insightful here.
Yeah, it really helps explain why we internalize things so much. The essay makes this powerful claim that essentially all hatred is fundamentally a form of self-hatred. And specifically about heartbreak, it offers this really provocative idea that we don't actually lose other people. What we lose is ourselves, but ourselves lost in an idea we had of them.
Losing ourselves in an idea of them. Okay, walk us through that a bit more. What does the essay mean by that exactly?
Well, because, according to this essay, we've built up our self-perception, maybe our sense of worth, or even just our day-to-day feeling about ourselves through our perceived idea of how that other person saw us. We sort of decided how we felt about ourselves based on what we thought they thought, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it does. So when that perceived view changes, maybe they leave or they act in a way we didn't expect, they seem to stop loving us in the way we understood it. Our own sense of self, which was kind of leaning on our idea of their view, it just collapses.
Exactly.
So the pain isn't just about them, it's about the disruption to the self we constructed using them as a mirror.
Precisely. That feeling of loss is actually tied to losing that version of ourselves, that sense of stability that we built based on our perception of their narrative about us.
But the essay pivots really nicely here, I think. It offers something potentially freeing. It suggests that if we start to see ourselves as maybe part of a bigger, interconnected whole, like fragments of the same light, maybe,
Yeah.
then other people aren't primarily there just for validation.
Right. They serve a totally different purpose then. Each person, each interaction, Acts more like a mirror, yeah, but
Yeah.
it refracts in a way that shows you specifically what you need to see, what you need to understand about yourself in that moment.
So the insight isn't actually coming from them. It's sparked by the interaction, maybe. But the light, the basic awareness,
Mm,
that's always your own.
that's the idea.
Every single relationship is ultimately just serving to show you something about yourself.
And this completely changes that concept of, coming home to someone. The essay suggests that every person you feel that sense of home with that comfort, that feeling of recognition, is actually just you coming back to a part of yourself.
Right.
Reflected through them, it's always you that you find in the end.
Wow. And the essay implies that the sooner you really face that, the sooner you look inward and get that you're seeking yourself in these connections, the less you kind of need others to fill those internal gaps or give you that external validation.
Yeah, because you can't really force another person to fix something that feels broken inside you, can you? The essay really emphasizes that when you find that internal stability, when you really face yourself, other people's actions just stop having such a devastating power over you. Because your sense of self isn't, resting on what you think they think anymore.
So relationships, they aren't really there to guarantee constant happiness or external validation. According to this essay, their most fundamental job, maybe, is to increase your awareness.
Exactly. And that awareness, that deeper understanding that belongs entirely to you. The sooner that clicks, the essay seems to say, the easier it gets to navigate the world and your relationships. It's a really powerful shift, isn't it? From looking outside for your identity to realizing that capacity for awareness, for stability, it's already inside.
It really makes you think. Seriously, if every person you feel you return home to
Yeah.
is just you coming back to yourself, what does that tell you about the real nature of the journey you're actually on?